The effect of professional identity, personal cost, and seriousness of violation of the intention to do whistleblowing. Corruption is the flow of fraud that often occurs and the largest in Indonesia in 2016. ACFE Survey 2016. In 2019, based on the results of the 2019 Corruption Perception Index survey, by Transparency International, Indonesia stated that Indonesia has a score of 40 on the CPI and this score is below China. Indonesia is still lagging behind other neighboring countries such as Malaysia, Brunei, and Singapore based on the data above. It shows that efforts to eradicate corruption in Indonesia are still very weak. The most famous example of fraud is the case of the Enron company in the United States, where this company was one of the largest companies in the early 2000s. Enron companies falsified their financial statements and inflated their financial statement records that actually made a profit. This resulted in a decline in shares. This case involves KAP Arthur as a public accounting firm. Before it was revealed to the public, Sharon Watkins as Vice President for Corporate Development has tried to report this illegal act to CEO Kenneth Lay. But no further action has been taken by the CEO to disclose occupational fraud or the so-called cheating in the necessary work whistleblowing system. Whistleblowing is the most common and effective way to detect fraud and to uncover the effectiveness of the use of whistleblowing has been recognized by many accountants and regulators in various countries. Survey stated that there were 40% fraud measures that could be detected using whistleblowing. Whistleblowing action can be detected quickly and on time. Various studies have been conducted to analyze factors that can affect a person's intention to do whistleblowing. These factors include professional identity, personal cost, and the seriousness of violations. A professional identity is a part of each individual's social identity to ensure that individuals can group themselves based on the profession inherent to them. Professional identity is usually interpreted as the skill of the individual in conducting identification or involvement in a profession. On the other hand, personal cost is a person's way of the risk of a colleague's retaliation revenge, which can result in the uninterest of employees to complain wrongdoing. If a person has a lower level of retaliation due to reporting fraud, it will increase the intention to do whistleblowing, and if the higher the rate of retaliation for reporting fraud, then the lower the intention to do whistleblowing. The last is serious offense. The seriousness of the offense, the benchmark in the seriousness of cheating, has many variations. A company organization can have a bad impact and is damaged if the level of fraud is happening more seriously than at a less serious level of cheating. Therefore, we want to see, do they all have positive impact on the intention to do whistleblowing? Research method in this study. Research objects presented research objectives, namely workers, employees who have worked professionally or called blue-collar workers. This quantitative approach is carried out by spreading the questionnaire that the data obtained from the respondent or the population will be used as sample research and sampling done randomly, so that the results of research conclusion can be used in the population where the sample is taken. The results obtained as many as 88 respondents. Independent variable SIST is a professional identity, personal cost, and seriousness of infringement, while the dependent variable used is whistleblowing intention. The research uses statistical analysis assisted by SPSS version 23 applications. Statistical analyses conducted include the respondent's descriptive statistical test, the descriptive statistical test variables, data quality tests consisting of validity tests and reliability tests, classical assumption tests consisting of normality test, multi-scolarity test, heteroscedasticity test, simultaneous test, coefficient of determination test and partial test. The hypothesis in this study used multiple regression analyses, aiming to see the impact of the intention of performing whistleblowing action using free variables, i.e. professional identity, personal cost and seriousness of violations. The variable Y refers to whistleblowing intention, X1 refers to professional identity, X2 refers to personal cost, X3 refers to seriousness of offense. Descriptive statistics test of respondents. In first table, the majority of respondents with the latest education level are S1 with a percentage of 83% of the total respondents, and the minority of respondents with the latest education level are D3 and S2 with percentage 3.4%. In second table, from 88 respondents, the majority of respondents who filled out the questionnaire in this study were aged less than 25 years with a percentage of 52.3% of the total respondents, and the minority of respondents who filled out the questionnaire in this study were aged 36 to 45 years with a percentage of 8% of the total respondents. Next table, respondents are classified based on position. According to the data above, the majority of respondents who filled out the questionnaire in this study were those who served as staff with a percentage of 81.8%. And the minority of respondents who filled out the questionnaire in this study were those who served as general managers with a percentage of 1.1%. In last table, it can be seen that of the 88 respondents, according to the data above, the majority of respondents have worked for less than 5 years with percentage 37%. And the minority of respondents are those who have worked between 11 to 15 years with percentage 4%. Slide variable descriptive statistics. This table explains that in the professional identity variable the average total answer is 15.76 and standard deviation is 2.289. Personal variable cost has average total answer 18.03 and standard deviation 2.557. The variable level of seriousness of average total answer is 11.44 and standard deviation is 1.680. Whistleblowing intention variable has an average total answer is 18.67 and standard deviation is 2.462. Based on the results of the descriptive statistical test above, it can be concluded that the average respondent for the variable professional identity, personal cost, and whistleblowing intention is agree, while for the seriousness level variable is neutral. For validity test and valid test elimination, the table shows that all questions used to measure the variables of a professional identity in this study are considered valid. It is said to be valid if the correlation value is greater than our table. Classic assumption test. Based on the spreading data, it located around the diagonal line and following th direction of the diagonal axle. Furthermore, using test normality Kolmogorov-Smirnov, we get the value of the two-tailed is 0.092, which is greater than sig value. So it can be concluded that the regression model has fulfilled the normality assumption. According to table of multicollinearity, it can be concluded that all the variables of the independent do not experience multicollinearity. According to graph heteroscedasticity test, it's stating that the data points occur above and below or around the number 0. The dots do not accumulate above and below, but rather spread. The spread of the dots is not patterned, so that it can be concluded that the regression model of IP, PC, and KP against IW does not occur heteroscedasticity, so that the results of heteroscedasticity test fulfilled. According to table ANOVA, it explains that F value is greater than the F table, and it can be concluded that HO is rejected and HA is accepted. This means that simultaneously it can be proven that all independent variables have an effect on the dependent variable, so that it is stated that the regression model can be used to detect professional identity, personal cost, and the level of seriousness of the offense simultaneously affect the intention to do whistleblowing. According to table model Sumari, it is found that the R-square value is 0.106, which means 10.6%. This states that the variation in the dependent variable can be explained by the independent variable as 10.6%. And the remaining 89.4% is explained by other variables that are not used in the regression model of this study. Test T, partial. Based on the table, it states that the results of the T-table on the variable of professional identity structure show a positive direction, which means that high professional identity can increase the intensity of a person doing whistleblowing. However, because the T-value is greater than the T-table, it can be concluded that the professional identity variable influences accountants to do whistleblowing. And then personal cost structure variables show a positive direction, which means that high personal costs can increase the intensity of a person doing whistleblowing. However, because the calculated T-value is smaller than the T-table, it can be concluded that the personal cost variable does not affect the accounting for whistleblowing. The last, it states that the results of the T-table of the level of seriousness of the violation show a positive direction, which means that a high level of seriousness of violation can increase the intensity of a person doing whistleblowing. However, because the T-value is smaller than the T-table, it can be concluded that the variable level of seriousness of violation does not affect the accounting for whistleblowing. Based on the results of the test conducted, then we can conclude that professional identity has a positive and significant influence on the intention of whistleblowing. Meanwhile, personal cost and the seriousness of the offense have no influence on the intention of whistleblowing. That's all I can present. Thank you for your attention.